I've been warning about this for several years, and now it's happened. This is a common refrain that you hear from me. Yeah, I've been warning about it for years, and now it's here. Hackers have now caused a blackout in the Ukraine. In fact, cyber warriors have now brought down a regional power grid in the Ukraine, and they've taken it down. They've taken down the electricity that was affecting 700,000 homes. Isn't that interesting? 700,000 homes taken offline by hackers. This is cyber warfare now, and this has been talked about in theoretical terms for quite some time. People like myself and others have been warning about this. Ted Koppel even wrote a book on this called Lights Out. It's a book I recommend. It's a great read, and it really warns about the risk of cyber warfare taking down the various power grids in the United States. And there are three of them: the East Grid, West Grid, and Texas Grid. And these large grids are highly vulnerable to cyber warfare and hackers from enemy nations like China, for example. One of the things that Ted Koppel's book really laid out quite well is just how vulnerable the system is and why there is no economic incentive for power companies to invest in defenses against cyber warfare. His book also talks about how unprepared Federal Emergency Management people are, FEMA, to deal with a grid down scenario affecting a major U.S. city like New York. They don't have enough food stored, the federal government doesn't, for even one meal for each person in New York City. Not even a single meal. So, well, power grid goes down, basically all chaos ensues. There's nowhere to evacuate all those people. How many people in New York? Like 9 or 10 million? It's a lot. Maybe it's 10 million. Let's just say it's 10 million. Where are you going to put 10 million people? We're just going to take them over to New Jersey? Really? I don't think so. Going to have them swim across there? What? Yeah, you can't evacuate 10 million people, and there's nowhere to put them anyway, and you don't even have food for them. So basically, if the power grid goes down in New York for an extended period of time, New York is just screwed. There's actually a stronger word for it, but I'm going to say screwed. And anyway, look, Ted Koppel laid all this out in the book, and now it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen in the Ukraine. So this is a proof of concept, of course, showing that hackers can take down a power grid and can shut off the power to hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses. They've done it now. This is no longer theoretical. But here's the really scary part, if you dare to think about this. I've noticed a lot of people just don't want to think about risks anymore. They just want to pretend everything's fine. Netflix is on tonight, and I'm going to watch whatever. Transparency. They don't want to even deal with reality anymore. So some people probably don't want to hear this, but the real risk is that China has been probing and documenting the vulnerabilities of power grid control systems that are connected to the internet or indirectly connected to the internet through the laptops of people who work at the power grids. And they have already cataloged a long, long list of targets that they are able to break into when the day comes to pull the trigger. So World War III will likely not begin with a bunch of nuclear missiles being launched. Instead, it will likely begin with everybody's lights going out, because enemy nations know how to do that. Remember, China already broke into the Pentagon systems and stole the personnel files for virtually every person in the military. China already accomplished that, and that was a breeze, apparently. They've got all the fingerprints, the names, the social security numbers, pay rates, everything. They just stole the Pentagon's entire database. How hard is it for them to break into a nuclear power plant and, turn off the coolant pumps? What do you think would happen then? Can you say Fukushima times 100? Or what about if they broke into the water treatment plants and shut those down, or added 1,000 times more fluoride? through the fluoride control drip system? Or what if they broke into, refineries and shut down the refineries, or even worse, cause them to explode? Cause real damage, real fires. What if they broke into the water pumping stations that provide the water to Los Angeles? What if they broke into airports, power substations? Hopefully you're starting to get a picture here. And the experts that are out there believe, for the most part, that China already knows how to do this, but they've been holding off. Like there's going to come a D-Day where they pull the trigger and they just unleash massive cyber war hacking attacks on the entire U.S. infrastructure. And that's the same day they dump the dollar, they dump the debt, they announce their gold-backed currency, and they basically just stomp America into history. And at that point, America will self-destruct. Because without power, forget it, right? People can't get their food stamps. That's 50 million people almost. Can't get their food stamps. You can't pump gas because the gas pumps run on electricity. So fuel is gone. And no food gets delivered to the grocery stores. Emergency services can't respond to events, including fire trucks can't get to all the buildings that Black Lives Matter is going to set on fire because they love arson so much. They're just going to set everything on fire, steal the pharmaceuticals, loot the plasma TVs, which will be useless because there's no more electricity to power them. The internet goes down. Basically, the only thing that will still work will be your Glock, your shotgun, and your freeze-dried food. That's what it could come down to in a scenario like this. And isn't it great that firearms don't need electronics to operate? I'm so thankful of that. I don't want to pick up a rifle and hear a click and go, dang it, man, the batteries need change. Or no, how about this? What if you picked up your Glock to shoot some bad dude trying to break into your home and rape your cat, and you pick up the Glock and a little screen pops up and says, oh, please wait, we're updating your Glock to improve your experience. 3 minutes later, new software is down. Like, really? You don't want that. You don't want your Glock to work like Skype. You want to just pull the trigger and have it, kinetically move some lead at high velocity to its intended target. So thank goodness for that. But my point is, this is where it's all headed. If you take down the power grid, all hell breaks loose in modern society. And not to mention, by the way, that half the population will just go insane from not being able to find Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat. They're just the youth, the entire youth of America will just commit suicide all at once because they no longer have any purpose in the world if they can't post on social media. For the first time, they'll have to look up or at the horizon and maybe have to deal with the real world, which is totally alien to them. So who knows what will happen there. But the point is, this is no longer theoretical. Now, action items. If you, upon hearing this, are still an anti-prepper, I did a piece on anti-preppers a couple months back. If you're an anti-prepper who hates preparedness, then you're just going to win the Darwin Award along with a lot of other people, and you might as well just stop listening now. But if you're someone who wants to survive this possibility, which probably now is more of a probability, okay, then you need to start thinking about preparedness. How will you survive if a cyber attack takes down the power grid? Now, the good news is this is not an EMP attack that we're talking about here, which means your car will still operate. You could still theoretically start your car and bug out, but that's only if you have a bug out route, and if you're ahead of the crowd that will jam up the highway, and if you have a bug out bag ready to go, and you have a place to go, and you know how to get there. All that. So cars could still work. What are you going to do for food? Water, first aid, medicine, basic sanitizing solutions that you'll need. What are you going to do for cash or barter? Do you have silver coins, gold coins, extra cash stashed away? The ATMs aren't going to work. Your bank's not going to be able to accept a check or a wire transfer or anything. You're screwed on the financial side unless you have that prepared in advance. So what are you going to do? This is This comes down to the wisdom of preparing in advance. Now, fortunately, the situation in Ukraine was short-lived. Only a few days? Yeah, a few days, maybe a week or two at most. But if China attacks the U.S. power grid in a deliberate, coordinated way, it could stay down for months. And if there's an EMP attack or a solar flare hits at just the right time and the right intensity, it could take out what are called the LPTs, the large power transformers. And guess how long those take to replace? About 2 years. And some of them were delivered originally on railroad tracks that don't even exist anymore to the places where they are currently setting. So once you lose an LPT, that may take out the power for an entire region for 5 years, for example. You'd actually have to tear up homes just to build railroad tracks to get a new one back in there. Eminent domain, yeah. We need your home gone so we can deliver another LPT. Okay. So that's what's coming. You better get prepared for it, or you'd be wise to, unless you just want to party on and pretend everything's cool and be an anti-prepper. Join the anti-preppers as they all drink the Kool-Aid and win the Darwin Award. So anyway, that's the report. This is something you should be thinking about this because it's now real. It has happened. Cyber warfare has taken out the power grid in Ukraine, which demonstrates, you should say, that this is doable. Now, maybe the U.S. power grid companies are better prepared than those in the Ukraine, but if you read Ted Koppel's book, you'll find out they're really not very prepared at all for economic reasons. So this is likely coming. It's not going to be pretty either. Thanks for listening. Let me give you some websites that you might want to monitor for this. Cyberwar.news, collapse.news, glitch.news, and of course, hear all my reports at healthrangerreport.com. All those websites will monitor these kinds of collapses. So thanks for listening. Take care.